we will now enter into the study of the Chamaka Prashna. The name Chamaka Prashna is given to it because of the refrain that we get in the Chamaka Prashna. Cha me means for me, for me. That means you are asking for give this to me, give this to me, give this to me. So if you count how many times and how many things we have asked, it is going to add up to 347 requests. 347 things you give me. This is what we ask. Who is this deity of Chamaka Prashna from whom all the favors are requested? So it is very easy to just conclude. Yeah, this is part of the chanting of the Rudra. So we started with Chamaka Prashna, it is followed by Chamaka Prashna, therefore it is Shiva. So whenever you might have noticed even in my presentation of the Shastra, every belief, every faith, every thing has to be questioned. Because this is a Shastra study. It is not religion. So here we have got to question everything and say what exactly is the vision of the Rishis. How do we glean that? You also have to glean that by where these set of mantras are juxtaposed in the original Samhita text. Because in the Samhita text, if it was intended to be part of the Chamaka Prashna, then there would not have been any segmentation between the various chapters. So you will see if you go to the Taittiriya Yajurveda Samhita, this forms part of the fourth book or fourth kanda, and it is in the seventh Prapataka, that is seventh section of the book. Between Namaka Prashna and Chamaka Prashna, there are a few more mantras. So there is another chapter. So therefore, we have to wonder, is this part of the prayer for Shiva or Rudra of the Rudra Prashna? Therefore, it could be a prayer for all favors from any deity. It can be even your Ishta Devata. For example, Chamaka Prashna can be used if you are worshipping Devi, if you are worshipping Krishna. So any of the Devatas that you are worshipping at the end of the worship, you can use the Chamaka Prashna. It will apply to your Ishta Devata. But since by tradition, from hundreds of years, if not thousands of years, hundreds of years in all Rudra Dhyaya, Rudra Homa, Rudra Japa, Yajna, everywhere it has been appended to Rudra, we can also definitely say that probably Rudra is a deity to whom it is addressed. But it is not limited to Rudra. So what is the basis of my argument? How does the Chamaka Prashna start? Agna Vishnu Sajoshase Ma Vardhantu Vangiraha. So if the intention of the sages of Chamaka Prashna was to focus on Rudra only, just as the Rudra started with Namaste Rudra. So why did the Chamaka Prashna start with Agna Vishnu? Therefore, it is Agni coupled with Vishnu is positively mentioned in the mantra itself. So how can we justify that this could apply to Rudra? Because Rudra is always invoked as Agnyatmaka Rudra. That is Rudra who is inhering in Agni, and that we offer the Havis to Agni to reach Rudra. Therefore, Agni can also be another name for Rudra. Specifically, since it is said as Agni and Vishnu, any deity you invoke in Agni could be worshipped, could be prayed for all the Chamaka Prashna. So having said that, the application is the japa or the parayana of this Chamaka Prashna Either you can chant the entire Anuvaka sequentially of entire mantra sequentially of all the 11 chapters of all the 11 Anuvakas, followed by one recitation of the Namaka Prashna, or you can have all the, if you are doing 11 times, then you can choose, once you chant the Namaka Prashna, take one Anuvaka of Chamaka Prashna successively. One Anuvaka of Namaka Prashna followed by one Anuvaka of Chamaka Prashna successively can be done either when you are doing Japa, or when you are doing Japa is repetition of a mantra, or Parayana. Parayana means just reading, or it can also be part of the Abhisheka, or it can be part of the Homa. So all of those flexibilities are there given how much time you can allocate. And in Yajna, this complete sequence of mantras is used in towards the end of the Yajna in a ritual called Vasordhara. So this Vasordhara actually is another name for the tool with which you do the offering of the ghee only. For Chamaka Prashna, you offer ghee only. No other ingredients are offered in Yajna. And this is used with as you might have seen in Dayton, in Louisville, and also in our Columbus temple, everywhere for that matter. At the end of the Yajna, they will have a long, there is a measure for that. The measure is, it must be this long. That means when you outstretch your hand from the tip of your middle finger on the left hand to the tip of the middle finger on the right hand, that is the prescribed length for the ladle to be used for the Vasordhara. And this has to be made by a specific tree called Audumbara tree. This Audumbara tree is, in Hindi they call it as Gulal, in Kannada, Telugu, not in Telugu, Kannada, Tamil, Malayalam, it is called Atti. I think in Telugu they call it as Metipandu or Metichettu. Metichettu. So that is the various languages. But in Atti is the name used in Kannada, Tamil, and also in Malayalam. The importance of this Audumbara or Udumbara, which is coming from the ficus family, is because there is a hymn in the Atharva Veda. As you know, Atharva Veda is the one which prescribes how various yajnas also have to be performed. This tree and the Adhidevata of this tree are extolled as the one who grants prosperity and also destroys all your enemies. So the Chamaka Prashna, the mantras, the offering of the ghee in the yajna through this ladle which is made of this tree, all of these things imply that all prosperity comes to you and it destroys all your enemies. So that is the purpose. Where do we find some reference to this in our epic literature or in Puranas or in Smritis? As you all know, there was this ancient king Harishchandra, who was the king of the Raghu dynasty, of the Ikshvaku dynasty, Ikshvaku Vamsha. His crown was made up of a part of the Audumbara tree, and since he wore the crown on top of his head, it was encircled with the gold. So there was a gold base. In that gold base, this Audumbara tree was embedded. So Harishchandra, as the embodiment of absolute truth at any cost, so Audumbara tree also indicates, the Audumbara ladle also indicates, the Chamaka Prashna also indicates the truth of the promise of the Lord to whom you are asking for favors. Then, the throne or the simhasana of the kings are traditionally made of this Audumbara tree. So the wood used in all the thrones is this, and then it is constructed with this Audumbara tree, and to the chanting of the mantras invoking all the gods, the king is supposed to climb onto the throne with his knees. So he is not supposed to just walk on that with his feet. So he has to be chanting the mantras, then he puts one knee on top of the other and climbs to the top to be seated on that. So this shows that he has to kneel down before every deity and also of the entire subjects. So this is the use. And then the reason why you don't touch your feet for this Audumbara tree is because that tree is supposed to house all the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. And it is also very sacred because Dattatreya, one of the deities who is a combination of all the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara, the great teacher, he sits under the Audumbara tree and then he teaches. And therefore, this is one of the trees which acquired a lot of sacredness in the Vedic heritage, like many other trees. So, how is the grammatical construction for understanding the Chamaka Prashna? You will see Chame, 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 and then if you read the structure of the mantra, you don't find a verb. So without a verb being supplied, it doesn't complete a meaning. So almost in the 10th Anuvaka, the verb comes Kalpatam. So we have to wait, and then each one, for example, Ashma Chame Kalpatam, Mrittika Chame Kalpatam. For what purpose? Yajnena, for the sake of our worship, for the sake of our having a worshipful attitude towards everything in creation. So Yajnena Kalpatam is the verb that has to be appended everywhere. So next question is, why do we even have this Chamaka Prashna in the Veda? What is the purpose? Because we cannot allow, why a whole section, not even half a syllable to be there without purpose. So what is the purpose of having Chamaka Prashna? Number one, we have to pray to the Supreme Being for everything we need. Because every single thing at all of all proportions is his property. So since it is Ishvara's property, even a small piece of stone, a grain of sand is Ishvara's property. It must have come from him only. All that wealth will be with us until he wants us to keep it, and then it will return to him only. And therefore he has to grant everything. There is the famous shloka, which I think I have quoted many times. Artha grihe nivartante. All our wealth will stay at home when we go. Smashane mitra bandhavaha. All our friends and relatives come only up to funeral home. Sukritam dushkritam saiva gatsantam anugachati. Only what we good things and evil things we do will go with us. And therefore we must develop a very detached attitude to all the possessions. But we need possessions also. And to get the possessions, if we have this yajnena kalpatam attitude, it is because of Ishvara's giving us whatever we have, and we hold it at his pleasure. So when we have that attitude, then Chamaka Prashna's relevance is understood. So it is necessary that the Veda, point number one, that we should have the Chamaka Prashna. The second reason why we should have Chamaka Prashna is, we really do not know what is good for us now and in the future. We really do not know. So we will probably ask for what is pleasant for now. And that need not necessarily turn out to be as we expect at a later time. So therefore all our prayers may be ishta, desirable now, but it may turn out to be anishta, undesirable later. So who can grant me the right kind of tools, materials and things of enjoyment, which is ishta here and then sukha later, not only later in life but also beyond. In fact, many of you might have heard the beautiful Purandara Dasa song, Ihadalli Sukha Untu, Ihadalli Ishta Untu, Paradalli Sukha Untu. You can enjoy here everything that is pleasant, and there is going to be comfort later. So these two. The reason we say that we don't know even what to ask for and have to rely on the rishis to tell us is because if we are allowed to ask for boons, our boons will be similar to what all the demons have asked for in our entire heritage. The Rakshasas and Asuras always leave a loophole, and that loophole is going to bring their end. Therefore, we must have a series of prayers which have no loophole. So, Chamaka Prashna does not leave a single loophole. That is why we got 347 requests. This concept that we should ask Ishvara only and not ask for what we at the top of our mind desire is exemplified by a beautiful story in the Kaushitaki Upanishad. There is a very beautiful Upanishad worthy of studying. One of these days we will study in our classes. In the Kaushitaki Upanishad, there was a very great king of Varanasi, of Kashi, by name Pratardana. This Pratardana was son of another very great king. His father name was Divodasa. So Divodasa's son, Pratardana, was a very valorous person. He was extraordinarily brilliant and extraordinarily valiant. And then he pleases Indra because of his prowess in both valor as well as in every fighting he did with the Rakshasas. So the Upanishad uses a beautiful phrase, Yuddhena cha Paurushena cha. So because of that he gets access to go to the heaven of Indra, and then Indra, as soon as he comes, hey Pratardana, I am so pleased with what you have achieved. I am also pleased that you have access to me, and with this access, please ask for a boon. I will grant you any boon. So Pratardana, even though he had shown enormous amount of valor, he was not overcome by arrogance. He was not overcome by ego. He says, Tvameva me vrinishvayam, Tvam manushyaya hitatamam manyase. This is, I quoted the Sanskrit just to know how beautiful it is. He says, you grant me the boon that you wish to. Because Tvameva, only you, manushyaya, for a human being, hita tamam manyase, what you consider as the most desirable, most good, that you decide and you give me. So Indra you have to consider as the Parabrahman and not as an anthropomorphic deity. Therefore, likewise, what Chamaka Prashna does is, Chamaka Prashna could also be interpreted as the words of Indra, where he says, you ask for these things from me. Because you have to ask to get, isn't it? So, Suvamoto, Indra will not simply say, take this 1, 2, 3, 4. So, what he has to say is, you ask, I will give you. And I will tell you what to ask. So, therefore, Chamaka Prashna brings all the desires of Manushyaya Hitatamam. So every request is pleasant to get, pleasant to enjoy and pleasant in the end. All the favors that you have asked, it must come to us also in one uninterrupted stream. It is not that you give me a favor today and I have to wait for the next one for 2 weeks. Because we have to eat, we have to enjoy, we have to be comfortable, right? So it must come uninterruptedly, one after the other. So this is dramatized in the Vasordhara, where you take the long ladle and without any break, continuously the ghee is offered into the Agni, and without any stopping, the Chamaka Prashna is chanted. So thus you see, I have covered the religious aspect, the ritualistic aspect, and also the metaphysical aspect, and that it is from the absolute Parabrahman it is coming through a deity who is the Saguna Ishvara. So you can see how in this structure of the Chamaka Prashna, all the ways in which a particular text has to be studied is seen. So from next week, we will actually get into the meaning of the mantras. Shanti.